The New York Times pointing out, and Dartigan wrote a great blog about this over at Daily Kos today, that conservative economics are literally killing us. I mean, literally killing us. Now, I don't think we should call them conservative economics because they have nothing to do with classic conservatism. And frankly, they have nothing to do with real economics. It's Reaganism. It's an ideology, a belief system unsupported by facts or evidence that is destroying America. Let me just, share some of the things here that, from Dartigan's post over at DU that, and then, that include pieces from this New York Times piece over the weekend. 35 years ago, babies born in the U.S. had an infant mortality rate equal to Germany. Okay? Before Reaganism set in, if a child was born in the United States, now people say, we've got, terrible birth, infant mortality, terrible infant mortality in the United States. And the Republican response is, yeah, it's all, poor people and black people and stuff like that. And, they brought it on themselves, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm sorry, 35 years ago, we were the same as Germany. A fully developed country. We were a fully developed country. They were a fully developed country. Today, American babies, and by the way, this includes white poor areas as well as black poor areas and Hispanic poor areas. Today, American babies die at twice the rate of Germany. So let that sink in for a minute. 35 years ago, the United States ranked 13th in life expectancy for girls among the 34 industrialized countries. Now, that's not great. We always thought we were exceptional and wonderful and we're the best country in the world. We were 13th. Now, 35 years into our experiment with Reaganism, we are 29th out of those 34 countries. And those 34 countries include some fairly, the developed countries of the world include places like, there's just a whole bunch of them anyway. We have the highest teenage, like Costa Rica, for example, is what I was looking for. We have the highest teenage birth rate among the industrialized world. Did you see that I don't have the headline in front of me, so I can't give you the details on this, but there's another interesting story out there about how a school district, somewhere in the United States, there is a school district where they're teaching abstinence-only education, and right now they're having an epidemic of chlamydia. An estimated 10% of the entire student body has chlamydia. Because apparently in the abstinence-only education, they came in and said, you don't have sexual intercourse and condoms don't work and all this kind of thing. And so the kids are doing things orally and stuff, and it's not, it's kind of messy. One out of every 4 children, this is the stupidity of not actually teaching people how their reproductive systems work. 1 out of every 4 children in this country lives with a single parent, the highest rate of any country in the industrialized world. And what is it that breaks up marriages? Typically, money. I mean, there are a lot of stressors in marriages. But the biggest stressor in terms of the percentage, it's well over half of all marriages that fall apart over arguments over money. Or simply the lack of money, the inability to make it. Our incarceration rate in the United States is 300% higher than it was the day Ronald Reagan came into office. Reagan, you will recall, put the war on drugs, aka the war on black people, put that on steroids. Really cranked it up. Minimum mandatory sentencing, different sentencing for crack cocaine, because that's more, at that time, that was more used in the black community. I mean, the war on drugs we have 300%, 3 times more people in our prisons than any other industrialized country in the world as a percentage of our population. Why do our children die at a rate faster than European kids? Staggering rates. This was the conclusion from economists from the University of Chicago, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the University of Southern California. They got together and they conducted research on why American children die more frequently than kids in France or Germany or Denmark or Sweden or Costa Rica. And what they found, I'll quote you from the report. This was published by the National Research Council and the Institute of Medicine. On nearly all indicators of mortality, survival, and life expectancy, the United States ranks at or near the bottom among high-income countries. What's most shocking about these statistics is not how unhealthy they show Americans to be compared to citizens of countries that spend much less on health care and have much less sophisticated medical technology. What is most perplexing is how stunningly fast the United States has lost ground. Keep in mind, we were on a positive trajectory. I mean, the last time Republicans had their revolution was in 1920 when Warren Harding campaigned on less government, less government in business, more business in government was his phrase. In other words, privatize, deregulate. And on dropping the top income tax rate from 91% down to 25%. He did all of those things in his first year in office in 1921. And for 9 years, we had a Republican revolution. It was the first Reagan revolution in America. And what happened? It created the Great Depression. Now we're doing it again. We're 35 years into it this time. It didn't take 9 years. It took 35 years. Arguably, much of the resilience that FDR and the New Deal built into our economic and political systems is still there. But the Republicans have been so aggressively taking this thing apart. This is how fast we have fallen apart. And when I say Reaganism, I'm not just talking about his tax cuts for the rich, his tax cuts for corporations, his encouraging corporations to pay their CEOs and senior employees with stock rather than salary, so they pay lower tax rates, and so their loyalty to their company, their customers, their employees, and their community vanishes, and they become obsessed with nothing but making themselves rich. I mean, Reagan single-handedly essentially created this billionaire class that we have. It's not just that. It was the beginning of the whole permanent normal trade relations thing, the earliest free trade stuff. This is part of Reaganism, too. This is why I say, yeah, we had a Democratic president for 8 years, you know, in Bill Clinton, and we've had one for 6.5 years in Barack Obama, but we're still living in the era of Reaganism. And until we repudiate Reaganism, we're screwed. And so now Hillary Clinton finds herself in this really tough place. The Republicans, and you see this over at Drudge Report where they're kind of bragging about it, the Republicans want to take her down by getting her to support this latest trade deal, which is just, in my opinion, another extension of Reaganism.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And if she does it, it's going to wipe her out with her base. And then the Republicans are going to start campaigning. After they pass the trade deal, they'll start campaigning against it.